Okay, a very, I want to say warm welcome. I think, as we just mentioned, I think it's quite symbolic that we're sitting in the cold here and the state doesn't invest in heating here anymore. But I think we'll sort of get warm by your presence. And to be super honest, I'm very, very honored to have you here and to be moderating the session. I think you've been sort of like, a symbol of courage and persistence since more than a year for sure, but I remember then that I saw you like a year ago at a demonstration, and I think it really carried many of us in many ways, so thank you very much, first of all, that. I started speaking in English, but the program said that this would be in German. Gibt es irgendjemand, der Englisch nicht so gut versteht und lieber möchte, dass wir auf Deutsch sprechen? Dann gerne einmal kurz die Hand heben. Also es ist für alle okay, wenn wir auf Englisch sprechen. Wunderbar. Yes. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. We've got about an hour to learn from you, also to get in conversation together. And so that it's not just, most of us will be Iris talking and us learning from Iris, but I also want you to at least know you a little bit, so I want to encourage you to just sort of maybe say the name to the person next to you to make sure that we sort of have a bit of some sort of a community here, if you want to. Sweet, I've also seen some hugs. So I won't introduce you because I think you'll say something about yourself, and then you'll just talk, and I might ask some questions here and there, but also if things pop up on your side, please just feel very free to raise your hand, and then in the end we'll also have like a sort of more official round of questions and comments and clarifications or worries, whatever comes up on your side. But yeah, I want to give you the floor.
Okay, well, thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. I'm glad to be here, especially because, my name is Iris Hefets, and I'm also a board member of Jewish Voice for Peace, die jüdische Stimme für gerechten Frieden im Nahost, in Germany. And something like a year ago, our organization celebrated 20 years of existence. Here in this room, and there was here also an exhibition of Muhammad al-Hajri, I hope I spell his name right, an artist from Gaza with his pictures, Gaza Guernica, which were also exhibited during the Documenta, and of course it was a scandal. Yeah, so it's a good opening for our talk today, because in Germany everything now is a scandal. Something really normal becomes a scandal, and we're jumping from one scandal to another, and we probably have to be excited all the time about things which are really not very excitable. And Norman Pech, he was in the Linke, and he organized this exhibition. He bought it from the artist, and it was possible to have the exhibition here on the walls. And this celebration was actually the reason for closing Oyoun. Because Oyoun, as you probably all can guess, is anti-Semitic, like everything today. This bottle is also anti-Semitic. Maybe you don't know it, but it will turn out to be an anti-Semitic water at the end of the evening. But not yet. So after having this celebration, Oyoun was stained with a stain of anti-Semitism. Joe Cialo, actually the person who is doing the dirty job for Berlin, and we see it now, all the cuts that Berlin is doing now in the art and culture scene. This is something that Joe Charlo is doing. Not only that, sometimes he's also inviting people and talk with them and ask them about their views, political views. And of course, the first institution to be closed and censored are institutions which are progressive. I mean, POC, queer rights, LGBT rights, post-colonialism or colonialism, because we are not in the post, actually, phase yet. And Oyoun was one of the starting points for that, as for closing an institution. And Joe Charlo also said in a press release or talk, he said that Berlin is going to persecute every anti-Semitic act, also the hidden anti-Semitic acts. And afterwards, of course, I mean, people say about us that we are paranoid, but I mean, looking for anti-Semitism where it's hidden by Jews, I mean, this is the perverse way that we're talking about now in Germany. That's the discourse. So I would like to talk a bit about Staatsräson, how I understand it, also from a psychoanalytic point of view, which is something maybe that can contribute to the discussion, because I guess many of you read already about Staatsräson and what it is. So I think that our excursion or trip starts actually with the end of a film called Exodus. This is a film that was made actually by the best and biggest propaganda administration of the world, which is Hollywood. And it was the script was written by Leon Uris, who is a Jew. And if you look, I mean, it's about Exodus. You know, it's the second book of the Bible. What the Jews call the Bible, we'll come to that later. But I mean, the Christians call that the Old Testament. That's the first occupation that we are going to talk about this evening, or first colonialistic act, I would say, when Christians colonized the Jewish Bible or idea or philosophy and made us to be the old ones, yeah, because they are the new and the good and the post-waiting, I would say, era. So anyhow, at the end of this movie, where you see during the movie how the Israelites or the Jews are returning to their homeland, you see a scene where Paul Newman, he's the one who is portraying, that's the protagonist, Ari ben Knaan. Ari means Aryan. It means also lion. It's short of lion. Ben Knaan, that means the son of Canaan, which is the old territory, the way it was called in the Bible. This is how it is called, the area of Israel-Palestine today. And he's going to a kind of a hill. You can't really say mountain. It's in this area. It's kind of a hill that overlooks the valley of Israel, which is not quite Israel, but it sounds the same. And he's going there, I think, with a nurse that was taking care of the soldiers. And they are getting out of the car and they are going to this hill. If you can watch it, you can just, Google end scene Exodus. You will see it. And he's taking her, and this also this Hollywood idea of you see her, you see him, you see her, you see him. And then there is an unconscious wish that it evokes, this seeing all the time, the people that belongs to a couple, but they are separated. One develops a wish that they will come together. And he's talking with her, and he's showing her all this valley. He said the Jews were here, Joshua was here. So this is the first conqueror that conquered the land of Israel from all the Gentiles that were there. And then he's asking her, do you know your Bible? And she's, sure, I'm Presbyterian. And she is, I mean, Paul Newman, and if we're talking about films, films are made in a planned way. It's not a dream that is coming out of the unconscious. They give us also hints about the unconscious, but there is a script, there is a casting. The casting of the protagonist is Paul Newman, which is, I think his father was a Jew, but he is, you know, a white guy with blue eyes. That's the new Israeli, kind of. And the woman is blonde like she came now, I don't know, from a Viking family. Really, very blonde and very white. And he's telling her also, so this is, you know, this place that you can overlook from here, do you know it? And she said, yes, and here was Deborah, and here was Barak, that's the name of your father, and said, yeah, my father's name was Yaakov Kishinsky, something like that, but he changed his name to this Hebrew name of Barak ben Avinoam because he's kind of a hero. And then he says, and this is Mount Tabor, where they were, which is also an important place in the New Testament, in Christianity. But he says that, yeah, but you know, I mean, we're different people. You're not a Jew, you cannot understand it. And she's saying, no, I mean, all people are equal. All these differences, they don't really count. I said, no, they do count, and it's something else. You have to respect these differences. And she said, no, I mean, we are all the same at some point. And then she takes him and she kissed him. I mean, she is really, you see, this is the end scene. So, and this is Staatsräson. And I'll explain in a while why. Because actually what we see there is a Jew which is actually, I mean, like a white German, like this model of the good white people. In Germany you also say, I mean, I think many Germans are not aware to that, but if you want to say about someone that is naive and good people, a good person, you would say blauäugig. I mean, it's a blue-eyed person, yeah? And she is a Christian, a Protestant Christian. Now, and this is also the idea of Zionism. Zionism is actually a Protestant movement. So it's a movement that is, I mean, the idea of Zionism is back to the Bible. And this is also what he tells her in this end scene. He's showing her, he says, you see, this is Dan and Daphna, these new kibbutzim, and nearby there is an Arabic, there are no Palestinians, of course, Arabic a place, but now there is also new places, you know, this kibbutzim, one day we will live all together in peace, blah, 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 because we are all equal, the liberal idea of this. But the new Jew, actually, that was styled to be the one in Israel is actually a Christian Jew. A Protestant one, and is not by chance kissing a Protestant woman. This is actually a major sin in Judaism. I mean, to marry someone who's not Jewish, especially for him. I mean, if the woman is not Jewish, it's especially problematic because the children will not be Jewish. But the idea is that there is a marriage, and this is also settler colonialism. It's actually a Protestant movement of taking the land, of having this idea of moral or ethics of working hard, and becoming white. Because, I mean, the Jews that were considered to be black in Germany, these are the Ostjuden. They were all murdered in Europe, yeah? In Germany, the Jewry of Germany was a bit more progressive, not a bit more, much more progressive, sometimes also Protestant, because, I mean, for example, there are synagogues here with organs within the synagogue. Or girls had also bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, which is a kind of confirmation. This is something also that happens in puberty, a kind of initiation ritual. But these Jews do not exist today in Germany. They were murdered or they left Germany. Germany, though, tried to undo this extermination of Jews that lived here. The Jews that live today in Germany are Jews that came to Germany. I mean, they either survived the Holocaust because they were married with non-Jews, or These are Ostjuden, how we call them. I mean, Jews that came from East Europe and stayed here in DP lager and became the very, very small Jewry of Germany. And to them, in the 19th came Jews from former Soviet Union. Many of them didn't even know that they were Jews, or they were Jews that were suppressed because, you know, in communist places, we were all kind of internationalists. And sometimes maybe they were not Jews at all, but they had a chance to come out, like many people just, you know, leave the place if they can, and if they have a way to do that. But the Jewry, the original Jewry of Germany, do not exist. So how can Germany undo that? How can Germany have its Jews again and be good again? Germany is now telling us that actually Jews are all Zionists. That means that if all Jews are Zionists, it can go also the other way around. If you're a Zionist, you can also be a Jew. So we have today, for example, in Germany, many, press and news outlets where many Gentile Jews are sitting and explaining Jews what it is to be a Jew. The Jews who are criticizing Israel are anti-Semitic, and they are actually the Jews. So it enables actually Germany also to have its Jews again. And most of them, for example, I mean, if we look in Potsdam, there is Abteilung, faculty for Jewish studies. All the teachers there, or rabbi school, all the teachers there are Christians who converted to Judaism. This is also a Christian model. I mean, if you want to become a rabbi in Judaism, you don't go to university. This is something you do if you're a Protestant priest. So all these Christian models were kind of, I mean, Jews are adapting into that, and Germany can control the small Jewish community which still exists, but most of the people in the Zentralrat der Juden, I mean in the organized Jewish community, are older than 60 years. They are there because many of them are getting social services from the state, and not all of them, for example, speak German. They came when they were older, or they have children maybe and families, but it's a small community. That's how it is also, because the Jews were murdered. So Germany tries to revive, actually, this Jewish life. We always hear about Jewish life here. If one would hear it from the outside, one could think, whoa, I mean, what's here going on? I mean, so many organizations who are fighting anti-Semitism. It must be New York here. Well, it isn't. We are talking about 200,000 Jews in Germany, but there is a Jewish life which is made in Germany by German Protestants. So, for example, when I came to Germany from Israel 22 years ago, I thought, and to Berlin, I thought I landed actually in a Jewish quarter in Jerusalem, because all the children had names that you give only in these Jewish quarters, like the family of Deborah Feldman, for example. And she is not the type who would be casted for Exodus, of course. No? She is an Ostjude, or she's coming from a family which serves this stereotype of the Jews that were murdered. And she's coming also from a family of Holocaust survivors. So all the children in our neighborhood, their names were Esther, Sarah, Yona, Samuel, Judith. I mean, names that, I mean, in Israel it was really no-go unless you belonged to this very Orthodox family. And when Sarah was actually, I think, more than 10 years at least, it was really leading the chart of the names. In Germany, it was a very popular name. And it's also the name that every Jewish woman had to carry in her passport during the Nazi time, because that was the way that Jewish women were marked. Yeah? So for For men, it was, if your name was Paul Ehrlich, then you would be called Paul Abraham Ehrlich, or Israel, Abraham, Israel. And I think, and if it was a woman, it was Sarah. That was the middle name, so every controlling, I mean, by every controlling, one could see that this person is a Jew because he cannot see it on the face, actually, like the Nazi claimed that they can. So there are stereotypes, yeah? But of course you cannot say about a person something as an individual. So these are the names that were given to children, and these are Jewish names which were common before the Second World War among Jews. I mean, there were many waves, yeah? There were waves also during the emancipation. There were many Jews that got names from the Nibelungen, like Sigmund Freud, for example. Yeah, so Sigmund is not really a Jewish name. And there were also others like that, but the Jewish community, which was more Orthodox, they had these names. So actually what we can say is that unconsciously, of course, yeah, it's not something planned, but Germany, after doing the memory culture or memory theater, as some sociologists would call it, they are now over it and they can produce their own Jews. This is a way to undo, actually, the extermination. In other ways, you could also see that in propagating the fact that there are rabbis in the police. There are no Jewish policemen, you know, but one has to produce them. And this is what Felix Klein, the commissioner for Jewish life and fight against anti-Semitism, was propagating. We have now rabbis from this school in Potsdam, yeah, rabbi school, and they are now serving in the police without any policemen who are Jewish. But last week, or this week, you know, when the police, the president of the police issued a warning saying that homosexuals and Jews do not have, should not walk around in Arabic area. I mean, Neukölln, I hope, I'll be safe tonight. And she said also, yeah, fortunately nothing happened until now, yeah? In the same, and it was in the Zeit. I mean, we're talking about supposed to be or want to be a good outlet or press outlet. And there was a subtitle saying that most anti-Semitic attacks are directed to policemen. Yeah. So we see how this process of, I would say, Judaisierung, yeah, I don't know how to say it in English, but becoming a Jew, I mean, how German institutions are becoming Jewish. And they are attacked by Jews, maybe, yeah, who are protesting the genocide that is going on. But it means also psychologically that Germans are actually the victims. This is the end point of that. Yeah? With this kiss, Germans are actually, they are done with what they did. Now they are all Zionists. Zionists are victims, you know, there are pogroms against Zionist mob in Amsterdam and all over the place. And today I also read what Israelis are saying about the warrants that the ICC issued against Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. This is going to be Dreyfus trial. So really, it is so crazy. If we're talking about Dreyfus trial, it was really an anti-Semitic trial when Richard Dreyfus in France, as an army officer, was accused to be a traitor, and it was indeed something conspirative to accuse the Jew, to use the Jew as the scapegoat. But we are talking now about, the Prime Minister of Israel, yeah? Supposed to be a sovereign state, someone that was accused for doing crimes against humanity, which are well documented. When the perpetrator is saying, this is what I'm doing, over a year. But everything, you know, is anti-Semitic. And also Germany says, we're not going to arrest him. Because Germany is also, you know, the victim now, because they are now merged together with Israel, which is imagined as the good Jew, which is a victim forever and ever. I mean, that this is the fantasy, but we see how fantasy has consequences in reality. So I think, I hope I could give some introduction or to give some skills, you know, of the idea behind this Staatsräson. And I think, therefore, we are talking about something which is very strong and also psychotic, actually. Yeah, we are talking about something which is totally crazy. People who look at what's going on in Germany from the outside. When I meet people, you know, I was in Greece and I told them, said, yeah, but you're a Jew, eh? I mean, they don't say that you're anti-Semitic or you can say whatever you want. And I said, no, I mean, we are now, and if we look at the numbers, 30% of the cancellations in Germany because of anti-Semitism are directed from non-Jews, Christian non-Jews, or Christian socialized, against Jews, with the idea of we are the good one, and all the bad German parts, the ones that, you know, the parts that wants to kill Jews, are actually projected into the Muslims, are Arabs, everything is imported. Yeah? I mean, Germany, we are talking about a nation who is always exporting to all the world, but there is one thing that Germany is importing now, and this is anti-Semitism. So this is the crazy way to make Germany great again. I think this is the idea behind it. Yeah? And how can Germany become great again? Germany was divided because Germany was the bad nation, and there was this Morgenthau plan actually to dry Germany after, you know, it was the third genocide, actually, the Holocaust that Germany did. So the idea behind it is actually, we are now the good one. The bad ones are the Arabs, maybe sometimes the AfD, but maybe. No.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. Before I open to everyone, I want to ask one question, which maybe sort of gives you another train of associations. I was wondering how that term of anti-Semitism and that memory theater works towards the outside and the inside. And of course, we see that towards the outside of the nation state, it justifies genocide. And towards the inside, you've mentioned a couple of things, projecting on Muslim people, for example. But I think what I want to ask you about is how it might also function to legitimize or drive the right wing, and how it functions to fragment and in some ways repress the left specifically. And I think that's sort of one of the horrible ironies we see at the moment, and I wonder whether you want to comment on that a bit more.
Well, I think that what we see here actually is that Germany made it possible, or was genius, I would say, in marketing this memory culture. So in the beginning, what happened actually is that most people, after the war, they didn't want to hear about what they did, and it started actually with a generation of, I would say, late children, sometimes 68, but it started usually with private initiatives. So if you go, for example, in Berlin and you see this Stolpersteine, it's a private initiative. It's not something that the state is doing and financing. Also, you know, Orte der Erinnerung, if you go in Bayerischer Viertel in Berlin, you see these signs with laws that were issued in Germany during the Nazi time, and near, for example, a discounter like Penny, you would say Jews are not allowed to buy bread only from 5 o'clock. And it was a private initiative, so people were really doing, the people who did really an inner work, dealing with their families, did it on a private or personal way, which is also very meaningful and important. I mean, to face your family, that's a painful process. Yeah, that we all know, I guess, probably from this way or another, that one has to deal with things which are not really nice and good with one's own people or group. But then Germany discovered actually that it's a gold mine. And after their unification, it became a state project. So, for example, if we look at the Mahnmal für die ermordeten Juden, in Potsdamer Platz, the big monument, there was a big discussion. There was a contest between the architect, and they actually chose something which is, I would say, from a psychoanalytic point of view, manic, in that sense that you don't feel the loss. It's full. It's full of action. It fills the space. There was, for example, a suggestion to leave the whole place empty and to have in this big place one bus station going to nowhere, with nothing, But this is something minimal. This is something that would transmit that there is a loss. But there is no loss. Therefore, I think it's manic. To produce your own Jews as a Christian, this is something that has to do with denial. It's denying actually the loss because, hey, it's not a big problem. We have new ones. The old ones went. Now we have new ones. And we can also buy them, we can get them, we can finance them, we can import them. It's not really people, It's like, a merchandise or accessory. This is what Jews are in Germany. We are an accessory. And we are being used according to the way one needs us. But many people in the world, in the academy, were very impressed from this institutional memory culture and theater. And there was a lot of money going there, and celebrations. And the woman, for example, who was managing the project of the monument for the murdered Jews of Europe, her name is Lea Roche. She was born as Edith Roche, a Protestant name, but she said, I want to take the name Lea, it sounds more Jewish. And these are many of the activists that we know today. The anti-Palestinian activists like Malka Goldstein or Mirna Funk. These are not really Jews. As for the way they were socialized, sometimes, it's the stepfather who is a Jew, and then one can learn a new identity or can invent oneself again, So, for example, the Jews in the AfD, in Neukölln, for example, they are being led by Marcel Yaron Goldhammer. This is a guy that was born in East Germany, and I think he had a coming out process which was problematic. Then he left to Israel, and he converted to Judaism. He served in the Israeli army. He became a Zionist and a Jew, all together. And then I think he wanted to live with his partner, which is not possible in Israel. And he came back to Germany. And now he took a Hebrew name, Yaron, put it inside his German name, and now, converted to Zionism, to Judaism, to whatever. And you can be also, part of lead Jews in the AfD. Which is, I don't know what is more crazy, but this is Germany in a nutshell. So I think what happened is that, with this institutionalization, you know what I meant, Germany became very proud about something which is something to be shameful about. So today, Germans, for example, think that they are really world champions in memory culture, and also they did the best genocide ever. And you cannot compare anything to that because they are the best perpetrator ever. Really, and this is the crazy thing, what we call in psychoanalysis destructive narcissism. This is a narcissistic way to be proud of something which is actually destructive. And usually, and this happens when you're not doing it or you're not walking through your past in a way that enables you to feel the loss, not to deny what happened. It becomes a kind of, you know, it's a token, or it's something to be proud of. And we see also, you know, when Annalena Baerbock is talking, I mean, she's talking, if you can find a difference between the way she's talking and Yoav Gallant is talking, let me know. Really, I mean, she's more Zionist than Zionist. And therefore, if you're converted, you also have to prove that you are more, you know, than the originals. Yeah? And I think, I mean, it serves this idea in the German mind that they are the best, which is something I would say also very German. In that sense, I mean, really, it's something cultural, I think. I mean, I met, for example, someone who was in Germany during the women world championship in football. And I think he saw a match, I don't know, it was, I think, Germany against Colombia. And the commentator was always mad about the German players or something. And we see it after every Olympic Games, World Championship, whatever. There is a big discussion, how come Germany was not the first one to win? I mean, so it's clear, you know, there are 20 teams, but it's I mean, there is kind of entitlement that Germany has actually to have the most gold medals. And if not, then you have to discuss about it and to look for the people who are responsible for that. Like, you know, there are no other nations with people that can run. I don't know. So I think it has to do with this entitlement and it serves, you know, when you take something negative and you make it to a positive thing, which is the perversion, actually.
Thank you. I have so many more questions here, but I'm not going to misuse my role as the moderator, so I'm going to open the floor to you. I'm really, really happy to receive any questions from anywhere. Just put your hands up, and if you're happy to come to the front, then do so. I think I've seen one hand here. I think you will get my mic.
First of all, thank you so much, and I think I agree with you on the identity and psychoanalytic points, but I think there's like a more materialist political point, and in some ways maybe it's like there's a continuity through the years between like maybe 1917 until today. Because like we always talk about Balfour Declaration, which is like the kind of a Staatsräson for Great Britain to support the Zionist project, and also in Germany there was support for Zionism, and at the same time like anti-Semitism was mostly used against in this conspiracy theory of the Jewish Bolshevik world conspiracy. So what we see today is in some ways, I think, is like a reminder that Jews are not a problem if they fit into this Zionist agenda, which means they will not make like a mess in Germany for the national state, because that was the problem for the Nazis and even before. This is why there were so many Jewish communists like Rosa Luxemburg and Leo Trotsky, and why Rosa Luxemburg was killed, because Jewish people were suppressed and didn't want to support the national state. They wanted an internationalist solution, and this is what's coming back in the universities in the United States, on the streets in Europe, everywhere, and it connects with the Palestinian issue, which is also an internationalist movement and the last anti-colonial project. So I want your thoughts on that.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to ask because it's quite weird if you stand somewhere in the open space on a rally, something, and as a German you start talking about the Jewish state. You're already an anti-Semite if you start talking. This is an idea that is always following you, and I was wondering, well, now since the genocide won't stop from its own, we have to step up. We have to do something. So I'm actually I want to find a way to be able to talk about Judaism, about people who convert and say, we're the Jews now. So do you have an idea on that? And thank you for your talk, of course.
Thank you very much. I have a question in regards, you said, particularly since the vendor, or since the fall of the wall, this Staatsräson was exploding, right? Perhaps that has to do because beforehand we had two Germanys, and one of the Germanys was actually quite fond of the Palestinian case and quite critical in regards to Israel. So I would like to ask you a bit about the East-Western question in regards to the German Staatsräson.
You said it, like you commented on it before. Thank you for your talk, Iris. I came late, so I wanted to talk. So, like, I think one of the things that reminded me the most of what you named maniac or you know, psychotic or so. I remember one of interactions like with a feminist, queer feminist group, and someone told me that the UN was anti-Semitic, and when I heard that, I was like, okay, I actually cannot talk to you because we don't have the same understanding of reality, right? Like, I mean, so, and that happens a lot. I actually lost my place in a psychoanalytical group therapy because someone couldn't stop naming me anti-Semite and she was Jewish, because I had a Palestinian flag, and the Palestinian flag said on the other side, no to sites and genocide, and stop the war, or something like that, and like nothing very, you know, crazy, radical, Marxist, Leninist, you're gonna die, bleh. And yeah, because, you know, so I wonder, and I'm from Peru, I've been living way too long in German-speaking countries, I'm sorry. And so I wonder, when I try to like explain to comrades anywhere else what happens here, first of all, I love it because the last time that I did it was to an Afro-Brazilian friend, and he really is not from, like, he didn't study social sciences or something else, and he just got it. Because he got it. And I could speak like ages to Germans, white Germans, but also like, I don't know, confused BIPOCs with wrong consciousness, and they would say things like the UN is anti-Semitic, it's only democracy in the middle, and all of these talking points, and I'm like, okay, but how? It's like, I don't want to deny someone's. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't think any of us is better than anyone. But then how do you have a conversation with someone that is like completely convinced that whatever you're saying is bullshit because it does not go hand in hand with their indoctrination, be it if they were leftists, nationalist leftists in Germany, and, you know, the first thing they did after Abitur was go to Israel, or if they, you know, all of the things that you, so like how, yeah, I don't know. Thank you.
Hi, I don't know if it's directly related to what you started talking about. I really like the origins and the reference to the Exodus. This is maybe more like a personal question, because you explain how you moved to Germany, and I feel like you had this switch, like this, what is right now happening in Berlin, and this like the Ostunion and the sort of different relations between Protestant and everything. I myself have traveled, for example, to Tel Aviv. I have a lot of friends who are from Israel who have traveled, and when I talked to them before I was aware of this whole situation, I had, obviously that's why we were friends, I had the impression that they were very open-minded, very vocabulary, they studied, they know about the world, but when I try to address them now, I feel I'm talking to a sort of wall. And when I hear you, when you say, I arrived in Germany, and I feel like you, correct me if I'm wrong, feel like you maybe had a switch, or maybe your mindset was already like this. I realized that all of my friends from Israel, or most of them at least, are very consciously or unconsciously Zionist. They're very open-minded, but when you talk about a certain thing like Palestine, like Arabic culture, like the history of the country, how it's set up, I feel like I'm talking to a sort of wall and I can't get through. And I find it interesting how I would assume, because you grew up in Israel, you would have had the same education, the same minor indoctrination even, we can say. And then you talk like this when I find it super inspiring. So I want to know your opinion. How about, like, I'm 30 years old now. How about the generation of now, of which I would still convince open-minded Israelis when they talk about every other subject, about feminism and so on, about traveling, about cultures, they're open, but when you start talking about that they're actually Zionists, then they block off and they're like very closed off and don't want to go deeper on it. It's open, almost like, I feel like I'm opening a wound that is not in my head really a wound, just a cultural or a political issue.
Wonderful. So I think you have around 10 minutes to respond, and I want to push you in one final direction at the very end, because we have such massive challenges in front of us. And if you want to end, and maybe with some things that you, in German, auf den Weg geben, that you want us to take with us, especially in confronting sort of a very fragmented left that we need with dire urgency, and I think that would be really helpful. Yeah, and maybe when you have like 2 minutes left, I'm kind of give you, if that helps. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah, as for the materialist aspect, first of all, it's the first aspect. I talked about the psychological aspects because I thought this is something I can give you, which is not that usual, yeah, on the way. But there is money, of course, behind all that, and money is not disconnected from passion and from power. Yeah, we're talking about having a power, and we're talking about identity crisis in Germany. I mean, the whole thing now is also to reverse 2015. You remember a long time ago, welcome culture. For that, I mean, almost nothing was left. And this is also because, you know, there are too many POCs and Muslims and Africans and whatever these are not, you know, these good old submissive subjects that we once had, you know, like in the colony. They want their rights, or we want our rights, and we say we also have a voice. And it means also that, you know, Muslim women will be also, you know, in state attorney maybe, but then the states comes and say no, without a kopftuch, without any signs, because we are neutral, kind of, which is of course a fake. It's a Christian country, And we don't have here, on Jewish holidays, we don't have school closed, or Muslim holidays, yeah? It is a Christian country. So it's about power. Who is going to rule this place, to rule Germany? And we are being told, you can be here. If you want to be migrants and be submissive, you can be here. We need really people to take care of our old people. But you're not allowed to be a political subject, to gather in your own spaces, to have rights, to say we are a minority and we want to take part in this place. Maybe one day you will not be the minority. This is threatening. So this is what it is about. I mean, I was arrested. Why actually? I mean, it was pure intimidation. From the first moment to the last moment, the police tried to show also, it's not that they did something, hidden. It was being done in front of cameras. People had to see that we see all this police violence all the time because we have to be afraid. And this is what the institution wants in order to keep things in power. And it has to be the power of the white people. Therefore, there is a cooperation between the AfD, the CDU, and until the left. I mean, if we look in all these resolutions, crazy resolutions now, this is a way actually to bypass the German constitution. So it's about power, first of all, yeah? But I think in the case of Germany, it's also about identity. And that brings me to the question of how to talk. How to talk with Israelis, how to talk with German people. We have the illusion that we are talking with people about politics. But we're not talking when we talk about people when you're facing a wall, you're not talking about politics. You're talking about identity. And if someone was raised with the idea, I am a good person because I'm open-minded and I'm for LGBT and I'm progressive and whatever, and I love Israel and I'm against racism and against colonialism, they don't want, these are things that live in the mind in two separate places. I'm anti-colonialist and I'm anti-racist and I'm feminist and whatever, and I love Israel. And these parts are splitted. They are not talking with one another. When you come to these people, you tell them, these parts belong to the same system. This is threatening. Then that means that, it is threatening because it's threatening on the identity. And this whole project of we are good, we are German who dealt with their past, we can travel now in the world, we can do whatever we want, we can have a big Germany again. And this is also the case with Israelis. It was not a switch in my case, actually, and it shows also what it means when these parts start to talk with each other. This is what brought me to Germany. I left Israel, I left Zionism, I made the big change, I lost many friends because of that, because I realized that something here is not really working. I'm also coming from a Mizrahi family, which means a family that came from Morocco and Palestine, all Jews, but I understood how colonialism works in Israel and that I belong to a family that is part of the colonial system in Israel with itself, without one Palestinian being involved in all these issues. The jail in Israel is like in the USA. The classes have color in Israel. So they were full with Moroccans in the first years. Now Ethiopians are also coming into the jails. And it's about money and power, of course. If you look at the academy in Israel, it's a white Ashkenazi academy. Yeah? Only the politics is where people do not have to study in university, then they are more, or in the army, you see that it's not only an upper class thing, and they are also reacting against the upper class and the elites in the army, in the politics. It's a kind of a protest or something also very aggressive and destructive. Now, as for the question, and I think therefore, just to close it, it's very hard to talk with people about their identity. It's something, everyone is doing that on its own, and it's not an intellectual thing. If you come to these people and say, but look, we see what the soldiers are doing. They will tell you, or you would say, yeah, but the UN is saying something like that, or that they will defend the identity, and they will say, I don't want to know about this. This live in an area, in another area. This is the anti-Semitism area, and here sits UN, Muslim people, Iran, whatever you name it. Yeah, all the things that you can project, anti-Semitism, all the bad things are here. And Israel is good, Jews are good, whatever they do is good. And if they attack these ones, then because it's anti-Semitic, and the same you could see also when it's not about Israel-Palestine. You could see the same in other issues. You could talk with someone about feminism or something that is threatening to the identity. And therefore, I try not to engage in such talks because, if you talk with an ultra-German, or anti-Deutsch or whatever, it's really, I have the feeling that I'm talking with an Israeli radio that this person just swallowed. So it makes the same sense, you can talk with the radio, you can talk with this person, and they are sure that they are the better Jews because they have this radio. Now, I know this radio, yeah, I grew up every morning with these cliches, yeah. But you cannot come through because the defense mechanism is so hard that you can break things through fear, and therefore I think, for example, these warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant are very important. Of course, they will not be arrested, but they are afraid. They cannot move freely. And it's not that only they are afraid, it means that there is, I would say psychoanalytically also, superego. There is a law, there is God, there is, there are these 10 commandments, there are taboos which are totally being broken in any genocidal society. It was the same during the genocide of Germany, which was not directed only toward Jews. If you start to kill people who are disabled because they don't belong to the ideal race, this manic idea, then you're breaking a taboo. You become God. This distinction is very important for human beings. So if we say, yeah, there is still, there is an instant looking up at you. And you see also the reaction of Germany. They start, to maneuver, and they say, well, it's hard for us to imagine that Benjamin Netanyahu will be incarcerated here in Germany. Now we are talking about imagination, like it's not, hard facts, and it's not a law. Yeah, but of course, there is still, shame, and we are the majority. We belong to a global movement. And also in Germany, we are talking about 20% of the people that think that Germany has to supply Israel with weapons. So the majority are people who think that there is something wrong and they know that they are not allowed to say it. And I think it's important to talk and to say it and to break this kind of taboo, because there is this idea that if I'm going to talk about it, wow, what will happen to me? Which is very problematic because we see hardly any resistance in Germany. We see in other countries how the elites, also in student camps, we see sometimes professors that are being arrested with the students. I never saw anything like that in Germany. We see a culture scene, which is not showing any resistance, and now they are losing also money. Of course, they are very vulnerable. They are financed by the state, and they are submissive. So I think if one wants to talk, and I hope you will talk, I would avoid the term of Jewish state. I think there is nothing like that. We're not talking about Christian state. We're not talking about Muslim state. We're not talking also about Jewish state. What is it? Can someone tell me, what does it mean, Jewish state? Or the state of the Jews? That means that one erasing now also 60% of the Jews who are not living in Israel and 20% of the people that lives in Israel without the occupation and territories and whatever, who are not, more than 20%, who are not Jewish. So I think that all these, in the moment that we use the term Jewish state, we are in a problem. We're talking about a state which is a settler colonial state and which is sent by the Western powers to be there because of material issues. And Israel was fighting 1956, for example, to open the Canal Suez for France and for Britain. I mean, it's not a big, and was supported by Germany years ago. I mean, the first actually state that was supporting Israel and helped to finance Israel is Germany, and they have their interest there. So I think we're talking about a state, and it means that all the laws that are applied to states are applied also to Israel. And all this mythic idea of Jews that return to their land and whatever, it's mythology. We cannot mix mythology and history, facts and imagination. This is what the genocidal society is doing now in Israel or in Germany during the Holocaust. And I think I would stay on this level of this is a state. The Jews said that they want to have a state. Let's say that we accept that. Okay, this is what it means. That there is also an international law and obligations. That's how it is. They don't live anymore, you know, in the shtetl and have pogroms. What's that? Yeah. And I would insist on that. Yeah.
And with that, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry, I
One
forgot.
more thing.
Yeah. I just forgot the one who said that she had to leave her psychoanalytic group, and I'm really sorry. I hear many stories like that. I know that my colleagues are also sometimes Staatsräson colleagues, I would say. And I hope, I mean, if someone needs help in that sense to find maybe a new group or something like that, I know it is a problem. I hope you will find also the strength also to stay in these groups, and the therapist can hold that, but you're not alone in this situation, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's a good ending statement. We're not alone, so yeah.